here in the park this morning in Edmond, Oklahoma at Hafer Park. I trimmed the beard a little bit this morning. Quite a bit, actually. It's still kind of long, though. Anyway, there's a little blue car back there. Got some of my equipment out. I've been here the past couple of days, and I've like I said before, I've just been sharing music out here, and it's been really nice. I just play, and some people walk by on the path out here, and they'll say thank you, or sometimes clap or whatever when the song ends or whatever. But there seems to be a lot of appreciation for the music. I just kind of practicing, and I've rarely been singing, mostly just playing mandolin and violin. Met some really beautiful people out here. Very grateful for that. So I got my camera and recording equipment out today. Maybe I'll make some maybe I will make some videos. I don't know. I was thinking this morning about how incredible it is just to have this consciousness that we have, that there's this part of us that can understand a higher calling or a deeper calling of being. And that in us, I think, creates some kind of dissonance, does it not? That thing where that part of us, that deeper part of us that is observing this character that's walking around out in this world doing things, and this part of us that knows somehow or imagines somehow that there is some kind of deeper way of being, right? And I guess that's what it means to answer some kind of calling on one's life. People say, I'm created for this, or this is what I was meant for. Me and my oldest daughter, Anna, we were talking yesterday about what that's like. About the ego, and there's this one way where we can say, well, I'm just like this. This is just who I am. This is me. And we can almost like make excuses for ourselves in that sense, right? And we have to go through that stage. We have to kind of commit to this shallow self, possibly. And then we have to come to an end of that and somehow acknowledge that there is a deeper calling that can be reached through surrender. Who was that the other day I was having a conversation about surrender with? Surrender. There's this place where we stop fighting, we stop arguing, we begin to accept everyone and everything just as it is, even as we understand that there is some kind of deeper way of being, right? Because we understand that if one of these manifestations of consciousness out there that seems to not be me, if they upset me, if they offend me, if I am hurt, who is it that is hurt? And who is it that has done the hurting? Is that the deeper part of our being? From what I understand, no. And if I buy into those characters, then I'm just buying into suffering. And so I guess, like, from myself, for me, at this point, Who is that me? Right? I mean, there's... My prayer is that the shallower parts of my being would just be exhausted. And I feel that exhaustion. But what I understand is that there is something deeper, that there is a resurrection that can take place in us. There's this idea of interconnectedness or interbeing, or even maybe a step further, this idea of oneness, that there really possibly is not many of us. There are not many of us. There is only one of us, right? This may be the idea of the Son of God, that we are the Son of God, that Christ wants to arise from within us, yes? This new being, this new creation, that thing in us, that deep in us, which calls to the deep. Yes. And I think once you've, for myself, once I dropped a picks. I've had thousands of picks in my life, and I only have 4 now. They're out there somewhere. Someone's playing with all my picks. That somehow we would allow this deeper being to come forth, right? And the more we suffer, hopefully the more we understand the futility of that suffering, the futility of the separate self, the futility of that one which believes I am separate from you, that the futility of that one which I believe must point his finger at the other in order to make himself feel more validated or to feel bigger or better, right? You know, having read what I've read and having had the experiences that I've had, this is the way that I have to describe it today. Right? From all the teachers that I've heard, that I've been able to hear, and this is how I can describe this today. Right? It started for me back 20 plus years ago when I had a presence experience, which I've described in other videos here on my YouTube channel. But I had a presence experience, and then I accepted and worked with that presence experience in the context of Christianity, right? Which is a beautiful place, right? A beautiful place, because there's a wonderful story of death and resurrection told there. It's a context, it's a story, and we are story creatures. We need these stories, right? And then I went through a long period of time where I was trying to eliminate those stories, because I thought, well, maybe it's those stories that are the cause of my suffering, right? The classic atheist stance, right? All the religions must die, be burned. But then you realize are the atheists, you know, are we as atheists, are we exempt from the storytelling aspect of, you know, definitely fundamental, anything that is fundamentalist is misguided and misused. I almost tripped with rocks. So there is something deeper. It's like, what's that? Like, I went to music school. I got to go to the University of Central Oklahoma and study in the jazz program there back in the 90s, and I am so grateful that I got to study music formally, right? I mean, it did so much for me. I got to be in these in the orchestra and these amazing jazz bands up there, and so I got to deepen my understanding of music and how to play and all these things. Yet there was a lot for me to unlearn once I learned the fundamentals, right? And that's what fundamentalism is. It's like, fundamentalism is it can be a good first step. Like, we can actually discover in any kind of fundamentalism the futility of fundamentalism, right? And that's okay. But then there must be something deeper, yes? So we go to religions to exhaust the religious in us, right? We become fundamentalists in order that we can transcend the fundamentals, right? Because ultimately, music is not about performance. It's not about just recycling the right notes over and over again. It's about becoming present as we have an instrument in our hands, right? It's about conveying the love as we have the instrument in our hand. We transcend the fundamentals of the music so that we can communicate that which is deeper, yes? And so it's the same with religion, right? We learn the fundamentals so that we can transcend the fundamentals. And this is what the Christ showed us, right? The Christ was born into a particular discipline, into a particular practice, which acknowledged the externals, right? But was calling for the heart, yes? And the Christ came and said, hey, look, it's not about, did you have sex with your neighbor's wife? It's like, how's your heart on that issue? Right? Did you want to? Do you covet your neighbors? Are you jealous? Right? Is that what's happening in your heart? Are you jealous? Look inside, because this is where the kingdom of heaven is within. And if we cannot find the kingdom of heaven within, then we suffer. And this is why we have the courage to move past what we have known before, to move beyond the practices that have worked for us as they begin to exhaust themselves or exhaust us, right? I didn't make this stuff up. I mean, these have been the teachings that have come to me from many different directions, and I have tested them out, and I have worked through a lot of this stuff. It doesn't mean I'm successful in some senses, right? But I'm smiling today in a park, and I'm choosing today to pick up my instruments and to speak to you of that which I believe is the most important thing there is, which is the waking up of us, the realization in us that we are more than the individual, yes? That we are that one love, that I and the Father are one, as the Christ said, right? There is this experience to be had, because that is what I've discovered to be forgiveness. Forgiveness is whenever I understand that there is no separation, that there is no other to point the finger at, right? And we will get many, many chances to make this choice of light and love in our hearts, right? Many chances. And we must train and discipline our minds, right? Because we have choice. And that may be the only choice we really have. We may just be kind of watching these lives play out in front of us. And the choice for light and love and strength and forgiveness, true strength, may be the only choice we really have. And it may be that choice which fills us with spirit and causes us to move in this world in the way, right? Is that not what the Christ was the way? It is a squirrel. Hello, little squirrel. I'm going to get my instruments out and play. Hey man, what's happening? How are you doing? I don't have any food. All I have is a message that has been born of many years of suffering.